Over the last little while, I've been scouring the internet for the absolute worst musical hot takes that I can find, and let me tell you, there's some bad ones out there. Today, we're gonna review my findings, and I'm gonna offer you some of my thoughts on these matters. To start things off, in a recent interview, Gene Simmons from the band Kiss had this to say: "Rock is dead, the people that killed it are fans. Fans killed the thing they love by downloading and file sharing for free." He goes on for a bit discussing how he doesn't see any new bands having the same impact today as classic rock groups from his era and a bit beyond, and then he finishes up by saying, "How do new bands survive? How do they have roadies? How do you pay for gas? No, rock is dead and the fans are to blame. You all hurt the one you love, sad but true." If you want to read the full quote, I'll put up links in the description, but let's unpack this a little bit. First of all, is rock in fact dead? I wouldn't say what I define as rock and roll is dead, but that changes person to person. And what I think Gene Simmons categorizes as rock and roll certainly will never have the same power and prominence that it used to. He's being a bit dramatic about the whole thing, but yeah, there's some truth to that. However, I would ask what made rock and roll so great to begin with. Sure, it's the loud guitars and the beat and the sound and the music, but equally important is the attitude, the energy, the way that it makes you feel. And I would argue that the spirit of rock and roll exists in many genres that I don't think Gene Simmons would categorize as rock and roll. And here's the thing, I've seen some of these old statesmen of rock and roll dismiss newer genres in the same way that their parents would have dismissed their music. Some of these old rockers became the exact thing that they used to fight against. Now, with all that said, why did rock as a genre make way for other things? Was it fans downloading music and file sharing, like Gene Simmons claims? I think it's a complicated issue, and I think it would be lazy to pinpoint it on any one thing. Trends, tastes, genres are always changing. I mean, the clarinet at one point was the coolest instrument on the block. Technology changes, and with it, so does the music. And I also think the blatant commodification of something that your parents loved isn't gonna do a whole lot for winning over the next generation. Things like this, to me, have more of an impact than file sharing did. Yeah, file sharing broke down part of the infrastructure of the old musical guard that a guy like Gene Simmons would have been firmly entrenched in, but it's not like it only affected rock music. It's weird to say file sharing killed rock, but for whatever reason, file sharing didn't kill hip hop. You wanna know what I think hurts Gene Simmons' version of rock and roll more than anything else? It's when these elder statesmen of the genre become the antithesis of cool. When you can watch their family's reality TV show on the same station that plays John and Kate Plus 8, when you can go and buy Kiss merchandise in the same store where you buy Paw Patrol figurines. It's like, you're out here blaming the fans, but have you ever really looked in the mirror? You know what I say? If Gene Simmons' idea of rock and roll is dead, good. Put a fork in it. It came, it went, it was cool while it lasted, but let's move on to the next thing. Show me the kids who are angry, who are making music with whatever technology, whatever means they have, that are on to something different. That's what I want to hear, not someone who's trying to relive 1974. And that would be my thoughts on that matter. Next up, this one popped up on the horrible disaster of a website known as Facebook that I only still go on because a couple years ago, I accepted 5,000 random friend requests, and since then have become invested in the lives of a bunch of people I don't know who share way too many intimate details of their situations. But anyways, here's the horrible hot take. Why do people still play guitar? I don't understand it. I think it's a waste of time and money. Computers can make any sound a guitar makes and many more. Guitar had its day and now it's obsolete. Now give it a rest. I would love to see a conversation between this guy and Gene Simmons. And it's funny because I feel like this could have been written by a 19-year-old or a 90-year-old. They raise some points like, yeah, guitar stuff is pretty expensive. Computers have come a long way, but I don't know. I still like it. I probably won't give it a rest, even though taking a break is a very good thing that everyone should do once in a while for their mental health. Okay, next up we have a discussion between a fellow named Matt Dillahunty, who I guess might be described as an atheist activist, and former clinical psychologist turned internet personality / male self-help guru, Jordan Peterson. In this discussion, Matt asks a fairly provocative question, but it makes sense in this context. But he asks, what would be lost if religion were to disappear? To which Jordan Peterson responds,
"Oh, you'd lose art and poetry and drama and narrative and story."
Are there no godless artists and poets?
Well, there are artists and poets who think they're godless.
Now, I don't feel like there's a whole lot of room for interpretation here. It's Jordan Peterson's opinion that without religion, we would lose art like music because all of us musicians are actually religious, even if we don't know it. He would kind of have a point if he was talking about the long history of religion and music and how they work together and evolve together, but I'm pretty sure that's not what he's talking about here. This is a cut and dry statement that I've actually encountered a fair bit before. Some people believe that the artistic expression is God speaking through the artist. So if I'm playing guitar, that's really God using me as a vessel. And if that allows someone to enjoy something more, or have a healthier relationship with music, create something, whatever, power to them. I got no problem with that. I personally disagree. I think what you hear when you hear me playing is hours upon hours of me practicing, on top of hours upon hours of me listening to music and being influenced by my cultural surroundings. Can I prove that when I play music, it absolutely isn't God speaking through me? No, I can't, but you also can't prove that it is. And just the way that I go about life is that if there is an absence of proof or evidence for something's existence, then I just will assume that it doesn't exist. And I take issue with someone who isn't even an artist, mind you, imposing their philosophy on what I do. Like, imagine someone coming up to you and saying, "Oh, you sound great. God gave you such an amazing gift." And I'm thinking, I'm pretty sure it was the practicing. I guess it's one thing if this stuff is coming from like a preacher or something, but for someone who is often deemed an intellectual, I don't know, man, this is a pretty bad hot take on the arts. Moving on, Ben Shapiro once tweeted, "Fact, rap isn't music, and if you think it is, you're stupid." I try to assume the best in people most of the time, and I'm trying to figure out how you would put this into the world without having some really bad underlying beliefs. If you don't like rap, you don't like rap, that's totally fine. But to say that it is a sub-form of expression that's not even music, you would either have to have an understanding of music that's comparable to how a walnut understands the NHL salary cap, or you're just trying to disparage the music because you got some fucked up deeper thing going on there. Here's another tweet that's pretty deranged, but not quite as deranged as the last one. This guy says, "My 90-year-old grandpa doesn't like electric guitars because he thinks the electricity makes it cheating at music." I think I'd like to try and trick Gramps and see if I can create a track using MIDI, emulating real instruments as close as I possibly can, and see if I can get him to like it. But now I'm wondering, where does he draw the line? Is recording music okay? Because I'm pretty sure we're gonna need to go back to the first phonograph ever made if we're gonna get a non-electrical, mechanical, musical recording. This one is from the question website Quora, and the anonymous user asked, "Is a capo cheating? Because that is something that I keep hearing the professionals say." I'm gonna go ahead and say that no professional guitarist has ever said this, and whoever posted this question just pulled it out of their ass, because why would anyone make their life harder for the sake of making their life harder? Because if you ever find me on a gig playing the chords A, D, E like this, instead of like this, call Samurai Jenny, because I've had some sort of mental breakdown. All right, and last here we have Bridget Gabriel, who came across my timeline on Twitter the other day. I don't know who she is, maybe a news anchor or something, but she claimed Kid Rock is far more talented than liberal Bruce Springsteen, by a lot. I have a feeling that Bridget may have just found out that Born in the USA isn't the hoorah patriotic anthem that she may have thought it was. I don't even hate Kid Rock by any means. There's a time and a place for what he does, but in what world is bow to da ba da bang diggy diggy guy far more talented than the frickin' boss by a lot? What metric is she using? It's not record sales, it's not accolades, it's not awards, it is her own personal tastes. What does that say about her? If you've ever wondered, are there really people who clap on the 1 and 3? If you've ever wondered who would eat at the Olive Garden in Times Square, if you've ever thought that raging against the machine meant yelling at the 15-year-old cashier at Arby's, good news, there's other people just like you. Just the musical IQ of a fucking walnut here. In conclusion, we should all try to be as forgiving, open-minded, and tolerant of other people's views as possible, unless they happen to have one of the worst musical hot takes of all time, in which case, let me know, tag me in it, assuming the Jordan Peterson stands, don't take me down. Who knows, maybe I'll do another one of these. Thank you all for watching. If you want to check out another video like this one, hit that link up there. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, and stay tuned for a wide range of musical content. Till next time, look after yourselves, look after each other, look after the planet. I'm Samurai Guitarist, and I'll see you again soon.